Step one, I've got my scope. It's out of view. It's right above there. I'm going to use my outliner, get my scope handle on frame 1. I'm going to set the offset at 0, so I'm going to key that. And I'm going to change the range here to about 180 frames. That's enough for what I want to do. I'm going to go to frame 30, and I'm going to increase the offset to 0.2, which should bring the scope into the scene. So again, I'm going to key select that. I have the X-ray joints on so I can see the joints. My cap and my light were both parented to the final joint, the last joint in the joint chain before I attached the rig to the IK, to the curve here. Now I'm going to set the keyframe at frame 30 for the IK blend. It's set to 1, which means the IK is fully applied. I'm going to move the playhead forward 1 frame, and I'm going to change that blend to 0, which means now the joints are fully in control. The IK no longer has control. The curve no longer has control. So I'm going to grab the last 5 joints in my chain, and you can see there the rotation is 0, 0, 0. I'm going to select those 3 rotation values, and I'm going to key that at that frame 31. So at frame 31, I've done 2 things. I've made sure the joint chain that I'm going to animate independent of the chain, I made sure it had a keyframe set at its neutral or starting position, and I also made sure that the IK handle had a value of 0. You can set the offset, but it shouldn't matter because that's no longer in control. So I'm still at frame 31. Let's go back to my last 5 joints, and let's go, like 25 frames forward. I hit the letter E for rotate, and I'll change the position. I'll rotate the position of these joints, and I'll key this. And I'll go, let's say, another second. So we went from 55 to 85. And now I'm going to rotate back past that neutral spot over to the side here. Key my rotation of those selected joints. And then I'm going to go for another, say, 2/3 of a second, or let's just go to a second. And what I'm going to do is go all the way back to frame 31, where I first set the keyframe for the joints. I'm going to copy that keyframe, and then I'm going to go to 115, which is 1 second later, and I'm going to paste. Okay, and now you notice that came back to 0. Now I'm going to move the playhead forward. Well, I'm sorry. While I'm still at 115 here, that's the last frame that I want control to be still with the joint. So I'm going to key the IK blend at that frame, and and the offset. Again, the offset shouldn't matter because with the IK blend at 0, the IK spline has no control, and the offset is really just controlling that. So I'm going to move forward 1 frame. And now I'm going to change the IK blend to 1. And I'm going to leave the offset where it is, and select it and key it. So now at 116, at frame 116, I've returned all the control back to the IK, and I've put the scope in the position where it originally last was under the control of the IK at back here at frame 30. Then I'm going to go to, let's say, frame 180, and I'm going to change the offset to 0, and I'm going to key the blend and the offset. Now, if I go all the way back to the beginning, the scope shouldn't come down in here. The value at the beginning has the IK blend of 1 and an offset of 0. So I should be up here. But what I found I had to do was change the first. Remember, this is the range. This is the starting frame. This is the ending frame. And this is the range. I'm going from 1 to 180. What I'm going to do is change that to 0. Okay, and now when I hit rewind, you notice the scope does return to its original position. Now let's see what happens when I play this. Everything works, except you probably noticed that one glitch when I go to the frame right here. So everything works but right there. Okay. So at this point, I should be totally under control of the IK blend. But let's see what happens. These are my 5 frames. See, they're still set at 0 at frame 30, so I'm going to key them there, even though that shouldn't matter. And then I'm going to go to frame 31, and they're set at 0. Okay, which is what we want. And then, like I said, what is going on with all this now? So let's rewind it and play it one more time. Okay, we got quite a mess going on here. So what I found is if I save this file, open another file, and then essentially reopen it, it seems to correct itself. So that's how I got that animation to work. And let's review it one more time. We're going to 0, we're playing, comes down, looks around, and then retracts. Now I would have to say the one thing I'm not keen on, I come down awfully fast. It's a lot of distance. So I probably want to add, if I could, I want to slow that down. The problem is you don't have a lot of time. I think there's only about 185 frames worth of sound for the inspection. So what you may want to do is allow for a longer period of time. In other words, run the animation past the sound. Maybe add an extra second so it's 215 or something instead of 185. And just let the animation play beyond the sound, and then hold the next segment of sound until it's done. That, to me, not this initial, but when it's going back, when it's retracting out, that's about the pace you want it to be.